Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. I know it's been a minute since I've published a guide here, but I was in Japan on a 3-week holiday. Awesome country, definitely recommend it if you haven't been. Yeah, and I've been back and I've been climbing Infinite, basically hard forcing Aphelios. So I was following, while I was on holiday, I wasn't playing that much. I'll play a game or two on my phone here and there. But I was watching Milk play the Aphelios line in patch 13.16 just before they nerfed it, and he would just hard open and use Vlad with Transfusion. And I'm sure you all know the line, but he was doing it every single game and basically top 3ing every single game. And I've got a let's play this. I'll link this to you, the VOD of him doing this, and you can see just how effective this is. But the reason why I fell in love with this playstyle is it's just so easy to play. And my biggest problem playing TFT is not when I'm high rolling. It's playing the early game when I'm low rolling and knowing like how to spike, when to spike, if I should go force a loss spree, should I full open, you know, all these kind of things. It's very difficult, and that's the difference between challenger players and like what my ELO is now as like high master, low GM, and I think this is going to help you guys a lot too. So I'm going to dive into the presentation, and you'll kind of understand what I'm saying as we go along here, but let me just show you the power of Aphelios. So this is why we're going to force Aphelios. Now this is on the latest patch 13.16b, and these are where the 5 cost end and the 4 cost units begin, and you can see Aphelios and Gwen have the highest win rates at the moment by quite a long way, and also Soraka as a 2 cost and Ashe has a higher win rate than many of the 4 costs, including Yasuo and Kai'Sa from Challengers or Azir, who are really popular, you know, and people say, oh, the Azir Lux comp is broken. Well, no, bro, Soraka's broken because it's got a higher win rate. And why Vlad? Well, for the same reason. His stats are also insane at the moment, and it just makes life easier on you when you low roll. That's what I really want to focus on in this guide, is how we're going to play when we don't have an insane opener. All of his augments are clickable when you're forcing Aphelios, but the best ones obviously being Transfusion and the Ascension, his 2-1 and 4-2 augments. So I'm going to show you just quickly what I've been doing. So this is when I was in Japan. I got back on the 24th and I started playing this comp, and I've just been climbing LP, and you can look at my match history here, and I even had some games where I had to AFK, or where my baby boy switched off my power at one point, and this 8th over here, halfway through the game he switched off my power, and the computer took the AI took Rift Walk for me. That was a fast 8th. I don't know, I have no idea how to play this comp, but as you can see here, I've been really consistent with the top 4s: 3rd, 4th, 4th, 1st, 1st, 4th, 5th, 2nd, 2nd. So the comp is really good at securing top 4s, and if you don't believe me, you can watch this VOD from Milk, and yeah, just take a look at the stats. So they nerfed Transfusion, right? So the stats should be bad, but Transfusion's still broken. There's still S tier. And I believe that the tier list is derived from win rates. They're just not allowed to show win rates on meta TFT. So it's still got an incredibly high win rate. It works perfectly with Vlad, with Aphelios Bastions. And Battle Ready we're gonna skip his 3-2. That's not that great. But Ascension is still A tier. And so is Partial Ascension, and I would put all 3 of them in A tier. So I would only take S tier augments above this, and I would really recommend that you guys install the Meta TFT overlay so the in-game app, because that'll give you the tier list of the augments. But we're going to go over which augments I like, which I don't like, how we're playing it a little bit later. Let's get back to the presentation here. So is this hard forceable? I would say you shouldn't hard force it. Now, let me explain. You should be playing this almost 80%, I would say 80% of the time, Force Aphelios. 20% of the time, you're going to be playing your high roll openers. Like when you, for example, I don't know, hit a random Rek'Sai 2, you know, or maybe that's a bit egregious, but you hit like a Darius and a Katarina and a Samira on stage 2-1. And then of course you play Noxus, you know, and you do that. But if there's ever a situation where you're like, I don't know if I can 5-win or 4-win stage 2, I don't think I'm strong enough, just full open and take transfusion and play that line, okay? And I'm going to jump into some games at the end of the presentation where I'm going to show you that decision point and when I think it's good enough to play the winning line and when you should play the loss spree line, the full open line, which results in us rolling down at 7 for our Aphelios Bastion board. So we're not going to focus on how to play from a high roll spot in this guide. We're going to focus on really on the games where we have to play from behind with transfusion. So that's probably where you guys are losing the most LP. I know it's where I lose the most LP is when I'm not strong on stage 2. And I don't know if I should full open. I don't know if I should try to win, lose, you know, who should be my item holder? Am I playing strongest board? You know, do I need to sell these units to make 20 or should I keep them because I'm on a pair, you know, for my item holder, etc., etc. This is going to simplify things a lot because all you do is you just sell everything, right? You make sure that you're the weakest person on stage 2. And if there's a Piltover player, if there's a KL player, you just grief them. You just play a single 1-star Maokai, you know, or whatever unit you want to hold. Like let's say you hit an early Kalista, then you just put the Kalista on the board and you sell everything else. And you lose to the Piltover and you lose to the KL reroll player because they can't do the same thing, right? They need their units. So this gives you the ability to grief those players really nicely. So let's do a quick overview of the comp in case you guys don't know. There are many good videos of how to play this comp, but since you're here, let's talk about it. And the main synergies are your front line, Bastion gives armor and magic resist, and you're going to get HP with transfusion and your other augments, and that gives you tank. HP plus resist gives you tank. So we're going to be playing mostly the Bastion front line. Sometimes we'll be splashing in Freljords if we don't have Shred. We're going to be talking about our item holders for the early game, and we're going to be talking about legendaries because legendaries are very important in this comp since we don't have that many core units. So let's dive to the board here, and this is going to be our, let's say, our cap board at level 8. We're playing Gwen, Senna, we're playing Heimer with the turret. I'll go over the turret in a bit. Actually, I can do the turret now. So what you want for the turret is turret's going to fill in for whatever you don't have. So let's say you have a you don't have a Sunfire, you're obviously getting double Mechano Swarm, right? Or even triple Mechano Swarm if you don't need any Shred. If you don't have Shred, you go Shred on the turret. If you're running something like, let's say you hit both the Heimer and the Senna, well, in this case we might go for a Repairer turret, right? In this situation with this board, I would, if I hit the Heimer last, I would go for the Repair turret and just get 3 levels in that. You can also go Goldenator if you hit Heimer early. Then you go 1 Goldenator, 1 Mechano, or 2 Meccano and 1 Shred. So 1 Meccano, 1 Shred, 1 Goldenator, or 1 Goldenator, 2 Meccano, depending on what you need. Usually when you hit the Heimer early, you would not have slammed a Last Whisper yet, so it's perfect to go for 1, 1, 1, and you can go full damage on your Aphelios. Okay, we can talk about the Aphelios items. His core is Rageblade, and then his other items just are very situational. It depends on the meta. Right now there is not that much backline access, because for Deadeye or Ahri or Rogues have kind of fallen out of the meta a bit. You don't see much Katarina, you don't see much like 3-star Rek'Sai that has access to your backline, so you don't have to build healing. But this is a very good item in general because we have 3 Targon, so healing is much improved. So we're getting 70% more efficiency from this. But I just put some sample items here to show you how we can use if we get 2 of each item component. This would be like a typical spread. And then other Aphelios items would just be Deathblade. Titans is really good on him. Double Rageblade's pretty good. Hurricane is also doable. And yeah, you're gonna be greeding your bows, because he always ends up with, in my experience, with 2 bow items. So you're gonna not want to slam your bows on any of your item holders, or I mean slam your bows and make utility items like Zeke, not a Zeke's ZZ Rod or a Titan's Resolve, and put it on a frontline unit. That's not really the play. Remember, we are lost spreeing early, so we don't have to build tank items early. We can greed for our Aphelios items, and also we're lost spreeing, so we get first pick on the carousel. So we do get to build almost or close to perfect items every time. Okay, let's go and take a look at the core and the openers. So let's take out this. This is our core, and these are the 4 units we need to play in the comp every single time. For the most part, our level 7 board is going to look something like this, where we play 4 Bastions, and the next unit would just be a Ashe. If we have a Shojin, sometimes I like putting it on her, because I know I'm going to sell her later. So something like this. Okay, this is actually a flex spot at level 7. You can put a lot of stuff in here. I mean a random Urgot that you hit could go. You could play a J4. It doesn't really matter. Okay, so but how do we get here? Well, it all starts with our augment. So typically your stage 2 board is going to look something like this. And you're just going to be holding whichever units you can while losing. Now the units you want to be holding is typically the Bastions, and usually some item holder for the Aphelios items. So let's something like this. This could be units you're holding, but be very careful, since this board would beat a Piltover board, right? Because what they're going to do is they are going to, let's say this is your board. What they're going to do, if I make a full board, they're going to be putting their Piltover units over here, and let's do another one. So this is Jace and Vi, and they're going to do something like this, right? And even selling anything else. So this board beats this board, but this board, if you just put these 2 units here, for example, will force these guys to walk up and let the Vi out, and this loses to this. So you just want to make sure that you're always losing to the Piltover players, or you're losing to the Kayle reroll players. Now the Kayle reroll players is pretty easy to beat them, since they're going to have a Kayle 2-star typically, or whatever. They're going to have a Maokai, Poppy, and it's very hard for them to sub all those units out. So But I'll be very wary on stage 2 to play if you like hit a Callista, right? And you know you want an item holder in stage 3, to play her with the front line on stage 2, because it's very important to go 5 loss. So if you do want to play her, then the best would be to do something like this. Let's say that's your board, you know, and just make sure you still lose to these Piltover players. Okay, that's the early game. Make sure you get the 5 loss spree. Then we will go into, and obviously we are always doing this with the augment focus on losing and getting more power. So this will be with the transfusions. So sorry, let me search for it. We'll either have the gold or prismatic transfusion. We're not picking this augment. So in the 10 to 20% chance that we get a silver augment on stage 2, 1, remember gold is like 60 and prismatic is like 12, I think. You can see here, legends. So gold is 62, prismatic is 10, but we also have 2 portals that guarantee prismatic augments, and they almost always get voted for. So I would say it's probably more like 62 or 60, 20, 20, you know. So for the most part, we're going to end up with gold or prismatic. But when we do have a silver augment, we're going to be playing this strat if we have AFK, blood money, consistency is very good for loss spree. You don't want to do it with risky moves, but you can do it with young, wild, and free as well. I would play this augment, but typically it's going to be the first 3 that I mentioned. This is not really for a loss spree. This is just one of the best silver augments in general. Yeah. So those are the ones I'll pick over transfusion, but you could still play silver transfusion if you low roll on your augments and you have a weak opener. Inconsistency is also a very good one to take, since you can then just put your units down. You don't have to focus on loss spree. If you're playing inconsistency, well then you just, you know, you put your Bastion guys down, you play your Callista, you win some, you lose some against the open guys, and that's fine. Okay, but let's just say we have our transfusion. Most common is going to be gold transfusion. Okay, so now we're stacking up HP for our Bastions, and on stage 3, we're going to typically be looking to maybe have something like this. And we're going to just go level 6 on 3-2, but not roll. This would be ideal. Something like that would be ideal. And items that we can slam would be all of our Aphelios items. So, for example, Rageblade is our primary slam, our primary item. Callista, that goes very well on Callista. And then we can just put everything. So let's say we do end up with a Deathblade, and we don't really have the components for like a Gunblade or a what else is there? A Last Whisper. So we just put a Shogun on her, because we know we've got very good Shogun holders in Heimer or Senna. So this is our items, and this is actually exact one of my replays that we'll get into. I think I have exactly these items. So we play this, we don't roll on level 6, we hit level 7, and then we roll down for our board. So we can still 2-star Callista if we hit her, in the event that we don't hit the Aphelios. But typically what would happen is you're going to roll a lot of gold here, like close to 30 gold, and you just send it until you hit Shen and Aphelios, and you drop the Poppy, and you play something like a, I don't know, a flex unit, whatever you hit. So let's say in this case we hit a random Ash, we just play her, put the Shogun on her, and we transfer our items to the Aphelios, and our tank items go on Shen. Let's say we slam the Sunfire. If we slammed it on Taric, that's also fine. Before you hit the Shen, if you want to save some HP. And this would be our level 7 board, something like this. So we have a 2-star, we hopefully 2-star this guy, hopefully 2-star this guy, hopefully 2-star this guy. And this is very, very stable because we're going to be on like 40 to 50 HP. So all of these units are basically getting the transfusion HP, which is, I think this was nerfed to 50. 50 plus 3 health per missing tactician, so that's another 150. So you're getting like 200 health on all of these guys with all their insane armor and magic resist. And then we play from there, you know, and you level up. You go to 8 when you have enough gold to roll for Aphelios 2 and for hopefully a single legendary unit. And in the event that you don't have any shred, you just want to play a Sejuani, in this case, until you hit a Heimer. Yeah, and that's kind of how the comp goes. Pretty easy to play. So if you're high rolling, that's cool. You still want to default to Aphelios most of the time because Aphelios is the best. Aphelios Bastion is the best comp. But other good comps to play is Azir Lux, Kalista Gwen, Challengers, Sulks +1. Invoke is also really nice because you can flex between Invokers and Aphelios quite easily. Let's say you start off with tank items and you collect your Bastions, you play them, you're playing Transfusion with Invokers, and then you just hit AP items. Well, you can just play Karma from there. And Zeri, I would play with a Piltover start, especially if you have access to Transfusion, that's great. Oh, and one more thing with Invokers, that's also amazing with Ascension. So, yeah, these are the comps I would play. Oh, and if you haven't yet, please remember to like and subscribe before we jump into some gameplay. I always forget to say this, so I want to make sure I remember by including it in my slides. So, there we go. Alright, so jumping into a couple of the games I want to show you guys. I'm going to show you guys some high roll spots as well as some default spots with Transfusion. But I'm going to be really quick because I want to keep this video I don't want to have this video get too long, and there's a lot to cover. So the first game we have here, we get dropped an early Kalista, and as I mentioned, Kalista is one of our base item holders, so we know we want to be playing around that. But one thing that we should also remember is if we do end up trying to play for the Losprey, which I think is, yeah, so here are our augments, and we go for the Transfusion, we want to obviously play around losing, but we do have a Maokai 2 as well as a Kalista here, and that's pretty powerful, especially if we're going to slam all these items. So this is an interesting spot. Would you guys play for the Losprey here, or would you try to play strongest board? And I think what's important here is to scout and see if we're being contested with the Losprey, and if we are, then it's probably a good idea to not slam items. If we take a little look forward here, I do end up scouting and seeing that there's not a lot of people who are going for the Losprey. And then over here we have a guy who I think he pivots into Piltover, or maybe I just didn't see him. But this is the board I was talking about earlier in the positioning guide. You see here he's trapping his Echo, right? And we will have to be very careful here because obviously our Maokai 2 and Kalista with full items will beat him. So in this situation, I think I would either just frontline my Kalista, put my Kalista all the way in the back, let his Jace and Orianna walk up, so where I'm holding my mouse here in the opposite corner, let his Jace and Orianna walk up, freeing his Echo and selling all my other units, or I'll just keep the Maokai 2 and sell the Kalista. So I think I see this, and I decide to full open since we are on a full Osprey. Let's just forward here. Yeah, so we do go for the full open, and I'm not going to go over all the fights, but needless to say, we do manage to secure the the full loss pre, and on stage 3-2 we're not going to take battle ready, right? So here we're going to reroll that, and we can always reroll that. Army building is not good, and this is obviously the meta TFT showing you what's really strong. So this is very nice to have. You don't always have to pick the S tier augments. In this case, I'm going to pick Tiny Titans, which is B tier, but it's just nice to know what's doing well stats wise and what's doing poorly. So here we're going to take Tiny Titans, and that's going to enable us to do our roll down at 4-1 with a lot more gold, or even 4-2 depending on what our HP is looking like, and that puts us in a lot stronger position. So this is quite a high roll silver augment for us in this spot, and if we just go forward, we end up naturally in Aphelios, and we're able to win around, and we can play around our board. So remember what we said our board is going to be. The core units is going to be Shen, Soraka, Aphelios, and most likely we're going to be playing 4 Bastion with that, and then 1 flex unit, typically a Gwen, Urgot, a Ashe, something like that. So one thing I wanted to mention as well is you notice from the start I slammed, if we just go back here, I slammed these items because we want to focus on making our Aphelios items first. And another very important item in the comp is Shojin, because we have such good Shojin carriers. We have Heimer and we have Senna. So this was really an optimal item set to make here. Let's go back to 1410. So here we are going to be playing the Urgot, just item holding with him. And let's go forward to slam a defensive item there, just making sure you're using all my items. I was trying to win that round because I know I'm going to spike, but now we're just probably going to send it on 4-2, since we can definitely sack 1 more. So let's go to stage 4-2 here, and we have our Ascension. So far nothing here is better than Ascension. We're definitely going to take this here. Like I say, for me, all the Ascensions are A tier. So I'll need something S tier, very good, to play over it. Let's see what we hit. Suppressing Fire, that's not going to be good enough, since we don't even play Dead Eyes in this board, on this comp. And here we have we do hit a long distance spells, which I believe is going to be stronger than Ascension, especially since we've got secondary carry items with the Bloodthirster. So definitely looking to play around a Gwen Aphelios, or like an Aatrox Aphelios combo here. Also Senna Aphelios is great with this, because you can put the Senna in this corner, Aphelios in that corner, and then just stack your front line. So we end up setting our board up like this. And from here on in, I mean, this is pretty straightforward, right? You just manage your HP and maybe go level. This is a very stable board, so we can go 8 with this board. Since we've got an upgraded front line, we've got an upgraded bruiser, and we've got our Aphelios, and very strong, 2 strong combat augments in Transfusion and long-term spell. So we can probably go for, depending on how many we lose, or a 4-5 all in, or a 5-1 all in, and we end up going for a roll down on 5-1 here. I end up transferring the items to Gwen, and when we do hit the Senna, in the end we end up transferring the items to Senna, and this is our board: 4 Bastion, 2 Invoker. This game was weird. We rolled about 100 to 150 gold on 8, and never saw a Aphelios 2. But yeah, so that's this game. I think it was the 3rd or something like that. But that's how you play the Transfusion line. So now I'm gonna show a few high roll spots, and then go back to some more Transfusion gameplay to wrap it up, just to vary things up a bit. So high roll spot number 1. Just get into the actual game. Yeah, here we go, and we are we get dropped a Rek'Sai, a Cho'Gath, Malzahar pair, right, and we get a Malzahar, upgraded Malzahar, and a Cho'Gath pair. So over here, this is what I mean with a high roll spot, right? You know that this is probably going to be a 4 or 5 win opener. Just from these units alone, we don't even have to see our next shot. So why would you want to play Transfusion here and try to contest a 5 Osprey? No, you just play, hopefully you get a strong augment, and you play a normal game of TFT, but from a very easy position. So let's just see what augment I get, and I'm not going to go through this game as the aim of this review is, or this guide is not really to go into the high roll games, since you can watch a Challenger Twitch stream for that. So here we have Titanic Strength, Transfusion, and Patient Study, and I think just taking Titanic Strength here and playing around Rek'Sai would be the best way to play it. Don't have to worry about Transfusion, so we can reroll these, see what we hit. Here, I mean, all that Shimmers is also an option, so it's between one of these two. It depends on how you want to play it. I think in the end I go for all that Shimmers. I was hoping for something like a Mogul's Mail or yeah, Needlessly Large Gem, and we hit the gem and we end up going top 4. Next game. So another high roll spot here. So we open with a Taric and a Poppy, and we also hit our Maokai. So we've got the 3 Bastions here. Let's just get through this round. And we hit Bastion Crest. So in this spot, I mean, why force the Osprey when we can have the 4 Bastion opener? We've got an item to slam in our Gunblade, and or you can, I mean, you can greed this for Rage Blade if you don't have a good holder for the Gunblade. But over here, I would just play the Bastion Crest and play around Bastions, because they're very strong when you do hit something like this. And we can take a look here. We do end up for winning the early game. And remember, we don't take battle ready on 3-2, so we hit another Bastion on 3-2. That's not really high roll because, yeah, you kind of want to play the Bastion units. So, but we manage. And when I do have a Bastion Crest, I typically do like to play around the Sejuani Freljord, like an Ash and a Sejuani, because Sejuani will use the Bastion Crest really well. And then you can add a Scion. So that's one of the lines, but we end up in a pretty solid spot here with 6 Bastion front line and the Ash, and this was also, I believe, a top 3. Yeah, so this is kind of how our board ended up looking with tons of stats. You'll see me taking tons of stats in quite a few spots here. It's one of the best augments with this build because Aphelios really wants attack speed, really wants AD, and your Bastions really want the extra HP, and Stanza Stats will give you the 55 HP, 5 attack damage, 5 attack speed. So it's just a really good augment, and it's better than the Ascension. So I'll put Stanza Stats in the S tier, and remember I said Ascension is our A tier baseline augment to take. So those are the high roll spots. Let's focus on the some of the more low roll openers, which are the games we want to really get down, especially how to play those. So here we are in Targon Prime. Obviously you want to vote for portals that benefit you. Targon Prime obviously benefits us because we get a blessing when we go low HP, and the goal of this build is to go low HP. So yeah, let's compare this start to, just put this a bit softer. Let's compare this start to some of the previous starts we had. Well, here we have no upgraded units. we have no real direction, right? What to play, and this is exactly the spot where playing normal TFT, trying to play strongest board here, can be difficult for someone who's not challenger, right? So this is where we're going to simplify our decision-making process a lot by playing Transfusion, full opening, and yeah, just having a really solid game plan. So now we're in the spot where we get a silver augment, like I mentioned earlier. We typically don't want to take Transfusion, but we can. It's a B tier, let's say, a B tier augment. We want to reroll and hopefully find something better, but we don't want to reroll Transfusion if our other two augments are garbage. So yeah, I'd reroll Iron Assets and 1, 2, 3s. I think we do that. So we reroll that and we hit Consistency, which is a much better augment than Transfusion for our strategy. And here I want to talk a little bit about what happens when you hit too many of your units, right? And you don't want to sell them all. So we play Consistency, and we're gonna try and lose out, right? But we hit a 2-star Samira, which is like a little bit strong, and I'm like, okay, let's see. If I win this round, maybe it's possible for me to play a win spree opener here. And we do win. And now, I mean, in this case, you could consider still full opening, but I think with the 2-star Samira and the Rage Bait Slam, it's worth contesting for to try to win instead of lose. And I think we do end up hitting quite a few of our upgrades. I think over here we on stage 2-3 we hit a 2-star Maokai and I lose one and a 2-star Viego. I'm like, I'm not selling this to go full open. I'm going to play a different style here. I'm going to try to win the early rounds, and yeah, that works out in this game, and we end up winning all the way to stage 3-2, and on 3-2 we get a S tier augment, Know Your Enemy. It's one of the best in the current patch. And they even nerfed it, but it's still S tier. So yeah, this was a game where I was flexible, planning to take the loss spree with Consistency, but just got high rolled on stage 2-3 and took it from there. So we play this one out. We end up sending it on 4-2, and this was our board. And I go for the standard turret setup. So if you ever hit an early Heimer, you want to go for the 1 Goldenator, because it's going to farm you a lot of gold and give you executions, which gives you bonus damage. We don't have any pen here because we're going to drop this to Sandra when we hit the Shen. So we go for the 1 Shrink module, and then we go for the Mechana Swarm, because if you go Goldenator, you always want to have 1 Mechana Swarm, and if you go Shrink, you always want to have 1 Mechana Swarm. So this is your default Heimerding Tyrant setup, and this is also the best place for it because it will hit that corner and it will hit that corner. Not sure after the nerfs, but you want to place it center regardless. So we have the Bastion Crown as our final augment. I remember Sejuani is a great carrier, but Aatrox is also very good late game if you're going to play the Aatrox Gwen line, and I think our board ends up looking something like this. We do hit the Senna, and another great item in this comp is Zeke's late game, because it can buff your Heimerdinger and your turret at the same time, giving a really big bonus to your turret. You can also obviously buff the Aphelios if you're not scared of getting CC'd by clumping. But this was a first, I believe. We can watch the last fight here. So here I just clump away from my Aphelios, so that J4 won't go onto Aphelios, he'll go onto the Senna side here. There we go, and Aphelios ramps up. Yeah, this is pretty much how the comp plays out when you've got assembled all the pieces. Last game, I don't want to end off on a non-transfusion game, so I'm pretty sure I took a took a transfusion game here. So we've got the Ermine Trout or whatever, Iron Mount portal again, where we get the items. It's very good for Aphelios. I'll usually vote for that because I want best in slot. And our opener is a Taric and 2 Orianas. So obviously, sorry, we just go back to that board. So obviously this is going to be a not going to be considered high roll. Hit a. So here, even though we have Gifts from the Fallen, which is another one of the S tier augments we could get for the comp, we want to probably play Transfusion here. What doesn't kill you is you will see if you install the Meta TFT app. The reason I didn't take this, even though it plays around Last Spring, it's C tier at the moment, so the stats on that's not very good. So I think this is a clear Transfusion, and we do take it here. So end up going Transfusion, and we want to contest, just make sure that we are not too strong, so that we lose. I did Scout, and I think we end up taking a full, sorry, it's a little bit lagging here. We take it, we unfortunately make a mistake, and we're a little too strong on stage 3-2, so we do win one there, and then we kind of, the rest of the lobby was trying to win, so we were able to lose out. That's not the end of the world. Ideally you want a 5 loss, but I mean we have a Taric too, so it's hard to sell that. So let's just go through this fight. Here I'm just slamming Sunfire. You can always slam Sunfire, and you can always slam the Aphelios items. So we slam our 2 Aphelios items, which would be Deathblade, Rageblade, some of his best items. And I think we win this fight. And now let's see what our augment is. So yeah, we're not going to take Battle Ready, but once again, Tons of Stats is one of our best augments, so it's just an easy Tons of Stats here. Know Your Enemy is also excellent, but not as good as Tons of Stats in my opinion. So yeah, and in this spot, it's simply choosing when you want to go 7 and roll for Aphelios. And typically from here, we're probably going to look to do that on 4-2. So let's just go to stage 4-2. And here we can take our roll down. So here we hit Social Distancing. Jeweled Lotus would also be good. Ascension would also be good, but I think Social Distancing for me is S tier, and these are A tier. So I go for the Social Distancing, and I base this also on Meta TFT, that overlay that you can install. And here we're just gonna send it. We have 30 gold to roll with here. It's more than enough to try to hit some pieces of our board. Even if we don't hit the Aphelios, we still have the Samira to carry. So we don't hit the Aphelios, but we hit the Senna. And now we transfer the items over from Ashe to Senna. And she's obviously one of the best Shojin Last Whisper holders. And really over here, we can just put all 3 of these on her, since... I mean, if we play Gwen, we might want to put the Hand of Justice on Gwen. So that's why I'm kind of hesitant. But yeah, we do hit the fairly strong board here. And something interesting about this this position is right about here I got a call from my neighbor saying that in 5 minutes he might need me to help him, and I end up having to, at this point with the Heimer Tyrant, yeah, over here I end up having to basically AFK. So I think I just buy some random stuff on my Heimer Tyrant, put it in the front, right? Because I know I'm not going to be able to roll anymore or upgrade. And so I'm just AFKing the rest of the game. I don't take any items. Yeah. I basically didn't move my units again. Didn't make another move. So my items are just lying on the ground, and still we were able to get a second here. And if this guy didn't survive on 1 HP, it would have been a first. So even without taking any game actions in the last few rounds, the comp was strong enough for us to carry, yeah, and carry us to a second. So those are the games that I wanted to show you. I think you can see the power of the comp. You can see how easy it is to play from a full open perspective. You just sell all your units, take transfusion, and send it on 3-5 or 4-1, depending on your HP. And you're always playing very much the same board. You know, it's the only decision point you really have is, do I have armor pen? If yes, don't play Freljord. If no, play Freljord, or play Heimer with Shrink module. Yeah, and that's it, guys. So hope you enjoyed the guide, and please let me know in the comments what you think and if you guys are having success with this build. And good luck for your climb in the last parts of before the mid-season. Cheers.